We call it SIBAM, but really it could be any order, right? It can be any order. They're all important. Right now, if I pull here, all these elements are overcoupled. They're connected. That's a good thing for a train. But sometimes it goes to the train yard, and it has to attach to a different engine. If it can't, then it can't. Then you can't continue on to the next destination. Okay? So it's got to have flexibility. But when they don't have any flexibility, that's overcoupling. That's all that is. Okay? So we want the resilience is, I've got all these elements available, and they can be in different order. There's flexibility in that. Now, when it takes energy in someone's system to overcome the magnetism of overcoupling. Another way to say that is that someone's arousal level needs to come up high enough to, let's say, like the A of the word activation, enough where there's agency. There's a threshold met for uncoupling overcoupled experiences, elements of SIBAM, etc. So it's important to build someone's capacity for the energy for something to change, for uncoupling of overcoupled things to happen. Another way to say that is don't be afraid of activation. It's a question of how much is the right amount to overcome this and create another possibility. Okay? In that way. Okay? Now, when things are undercoupled, this is DID. Right? This is too much. This is unhealthy. So let's make it a little easier. Just for argument's sake. Right? There is all this behavior going on, this rage, this anger, but there's no awareness. And it's not really associated with it. I don't connect with the anger. I do it, but what do you mean I'm angry? What do you mean I'm angry? Right? But everybody else is observing it, right? I might have some images or some thoughts that provoked it, whatnot. Okay? That's undercoupling. Okay? Our work with the clients is to help them feel so that things can come back together and a bigger picture is tolerable. So things can begin to discharge, begin to settle. Okay? I had this client who, he loved to fly. And every time he would talk about flying, he'd get this smile on his face, and he would sit up a little bit. But I would ask him, wow, when you think about flying, meaning you think about flying, what happens in your body? What do you mean? I just love to fly. Right? That's undercoupling. Well, I noticed that when you talk about flying and you see yourself in the air, so he's talking about flying, there's a context, a meaning, giving me a story, and I support his image by saying, and you see yourself in the air, and you're happy, you're excited, and I'd say, I noticed you sat up a little bit more. Did you notice that? Well, yeah, now that you say something about it, I did. Yeah. And as you sit up a little bit more and you see the sky when you're flying, right now, what do you feel in your body? Well, I feel bigger. I feel like I'm breathing more. Okay, there's sensation. Okay? But we had to build agency for him to feel that. Okay? Does that make sense? Good. Now, those are simple examples, but when people come into our office, it's usually something more like, like this, right? I would love a practice filled with just one simple little... Can you just feel yourself in the chair and we're done? That's not very common. Okay. It's usually something more like this. A lot of vortices interwoven, and we're sitting there thinking, oh man, where do we start? Where do we start? Well, what is most accessible, most manageable right here, right now? Everything here is clearly overcoupled, right? I mean, I'm going to just fake this a little bit, just to see what happens. But there's usually a fair degree of undercoupling. So when there's so much here, you can't really feel what's underneath. And then there's some things that are just unassociated, which in a certain way is pretty good, because what's most accessible? We work from the periphery, another basic concept in SE. Well, tell me a little bit more about that part of that one story. Just that part. No, just that part. Well, then this, no, just that part. We're compassionately belligerent. Just that one piece. Okay? A little bit of that. Okay. A little bit of settling, a little bit more capacity for something else. Now, you were telling me also about what happened afterwards, after the car accident, after you were out of the hospital, after all that. When did you start to feel a little bit better? Right? So now we're going to something else on the periphery. Let's say this was before the accident. This is after the accident. Right? It's more manageable. Right? Now we can go a little bit more toward the middle of things. A little bit more. Who's driving the car? Oh, my friend who I haven't wanted to talk with since. Your friend. Oh. Tell me a little bit about your friend. So now we're just pulling out one more little piece. Right? What we're doing is we're uncoupling these things that are just mishmashed or completely separate. Okay? Helping it line up into some kind of coherent SIBAM, some kind of coherence, like the balls on the video yesterday in that wave. Okay? Along the way, it'll get a little bit messier. As someone's capacity is greater, and they can touch deeper into a trauma vortex, or into what was deeper in the trauma vortex, but now the periphery is moved out, so what was deeper is no longer as deep. Right? We can come to something that's a little bit even more challenging, and what do? Yeah, things get disrupted, but we can help someone pull out another aspect to work with. Okay? So it lines up. Right? How do we know when we're done, when they're done? We don't always. Sometimes we're testing. Well, can we come over here? No, we can't go over there yet. That really disrupted too much. So let's come back. Let's just settle right now. Right here, right now, in this room, right? So we're going to be present. We're going to be present for right now. Out of the past and into the present. A little bit more. Okay? Eventually, what we're aiming for, right, is some consolidation into a new sense of self. You can't work through depth of trauma experiences without coming out as a new sense of self. Right? A reformed sense of self. Okay? Great. And yes, I do use these in my office with people, because the visual can really be helpful that way. Okay, great. Thank you.